From Hollywood, California, this is SMPTE 2016 Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Hello and welcome to SMPTE 2016 Live. I'm your host, Ryan Salazar. Today we have an extremely special guest, the amazing Douglas Trumbull, American film director, special effects supervisor, and inventor. How are you, Douglas?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So this week is a big week for you. You're getting the Progress Medal on Friday.
Yes.
Could you talk about the excitement?
Well, I mean, it's just really wonderful to be honored for stuff I've been doing for 50 years. That's finally being recognized by the industry and by SMPTE and by the world and by movie makers and filmmakers, and it's pretty rewarding.
Excellent. So your involvement with Billy Lynns' long halftime walk, could you talk about that? I know you had a lot of influence behind 120 frames per second for sure.
Well, I've been experimenting with 120 frames for about 8 years, and then we got into 120 frame 3D and actually built a little theater and shot a demo film at our studio. And Ang Lee came and saw this, and he told me that he was very inspired by it. So he went and made Billy Lynns' long halftime walk, and we're all about to see how it comes out.
To the Moon and Beyond is a documentary that was filmed using Cinerama's 360 process and projected into the overhead moon dome at the 1964 New York World's Fair. What can you say about technology at that time compared to today's level?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest problems with that show was frame rate. And we were using 70 millimeter film that was twice as big as normal 70 millimeter film. And we discovered, to our disgust, that the film just started shredding in the projector because we couldn't make it go fast enough. And so the frame rate of that film was reduced to the frame rate of silent movies.
Wow, because of the limitation.
18 frames a second. And then you can still only get about 100 screenings of the print before it would fall apart. So there were a lot of prints made for that movie. But anyway, that was the beginning of when I started learning about frame rates and movie projection and all the other things attended to that. That's how I got the job on 2001.
Excellent. So SMPTE, it's the 100-year anniversary. How important is SMPTE to this industry?
Yeah, it's vitally important. SMPTE is the standards group that's not only studies what we have done, what we can do, and what we will do in the future, but it standardizes it in a way that establishes standards that everybody in the industry can adopt and understand and use. So we have this kind of interoperability between all the different studios, all the different theaters, all the different cameras, all the different projectors. And without SMPTE, it would be an inoperable mess.
All right, so you were the visual effects supervisor for such classics as Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 1977, Star Trek, the motion picture in 1979, and Blade Runner in '82. Which of these projects were you most proud of?
Oh, I mean, I don't have any favorites. They're all different in their own ways. I think that what I'm most proud of is having had the opportunity to work with these amazing directors and support them in their work and try to bring something special that's my work to their movies.
Right.
And, you know, hope rise them to a higher level of spectacle. That's my mission.
All right, so you seem to prefer the hands-on approach to visual effects rather than just CGI. So do you believe that doing these effects the old-fashioned way delivers a better look than CGI?
Well, I think it's a combination. I mean, I love CGI. It's amazing what we're doing in movies today using computer graphics. There's no question about it. I'm not negative about it. It's just that personally, I don't like spending a lot of time at a computer. And I like getting my hands dirty and working with miniatures and explosions and real, what I call organic effects. But I'm really a big admirer of what we can do digitally in terms of compositing.
Oh, sure.
We got rid of the optical printer finally and forever, and so now it's much easier to make a special effects film, and almost all movies, any movie today, has some degree of visual effects in them to make them better.
Excellent. So you're currently involved in the evolution of visual effects via virtual digital sets and electronic cinematography. What specifically are you trying to achieve?
Well, several things. One is that I started developing this 25 years ago and realized that by using electronic cinematography and things like Ultimate and real-time green screen and blue screen compositing, where you can superimpose an actor or an actress into a miniature or a computer graphic environment, then you say, I don't have to go on location, or I don't have to build a giant set, or I can make my movie for a fraction of the cost. So I got into this whole thing because I love being on a stage with a small crew of people in a small space and make a kind of a family movie that looks really spectacular. So that's really a drive to have like a really nice organic movie making experience that doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
All right, so any interesting projects in the works right now? I'm sure you've always got something happening.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my favorite projects. I have several screenplays I've been developing. My plan is to get back to directing now that I've solved this whole film process. I got very upset with the movie industry for not rising even back to what we had back in 1968 with 2001 and 70 millimeter. You know, 70 millimeter went away. Giant screens largely went away and then got supplanted by IMAX.
Yep.
That's now being supplanted by premium large format, laser projection, all these things. I'm trying to get the frame rate up so we can get rid of blurring, get rid of strobing, get rid of all these nasty artifacts and make a movie that's like a personal experience for you, the viewer. You're going to be in space, and it's going to be like virtual reality.
And if you think about 120 frames per second, and there was a statement that you had made at some point, I read, you know, the only way you're going to get that realistic feel is by having 120 frames per second.
Yeah, we found out that you still have to have 120 frames or something like that,
Right,
120,
yeah.
144.
Right.
It's not critically important. 120 is nice because it's an even number of 60, which gets you to television.
Sure.
So it matches. But 120, we found if you do 60 frames for the left eye and 60 frames for the right eye and you offset them temporally, you actually get 120 frames of motion and it still looks like a movie. That's the important thing I'm trying to preserve. I think a lot of people look at this 120 frame, whether it's 2D or 3D, and it's too bright and it kind of looks like a television set. I've said, no, I don't want it to look like a television set. It's really important to me to retain that cinematic look.
Sure.
And to make it look like a movie, but get rid of blurring, get rid of strobing, and give you a bigger palette of a bigger screen. So I think we can do both. We know we can.
Again, Douglas Trumbull, American film director, special effects supervisor, and inventor here on SMPTE 2016 Live. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
All right.